Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's just start our meeting. So welcome, and I would like to humbly start off by thanking our program funder, IRCC. Without their funding, this program would not be available. And a few reminders before our presentation begins. We will ask you to please put your microphone on mute out of respect for everyone else in the meeting. Please turn off your camera. Absolutely no abusive language will be tolerated. Please do not post any personal information in the chat box. And please save any questions till the end of the presentation, and you can type your questions into the chat box. We will have a Q&A at the end of our presentation, which will last about 30 minutes. So you'll be given an opportunity to type in your questions if you're joining us via Zoom. At the end of this presentation, a special evaluation link will be provided to all of the registered attendees so that they can give us feedback. And please do fill out that evaluation, as it's so beneficial and helps us to create better quality workshops. Well, then I guess we'll get started. And again, I want to thank everyone for coming on time and being so very prompt. That does make our life a little bit easier. My name is Carlin, and I am going to be your event facilitator for the day. I would like to start off by just telling you that this event is called Your Future Awaits, and it's an Immigrant Services Calgary employment event. I would also like to welcome our Facebook audience who are joining us live today. We have a very exciting topic today. We will be learning about the alternative financing resources to fund your training, upskilling, and licensing efforts towards employment. Our guest speaker is Ipek Tezel, who is a partnership specialist at Windmill Microlending. So I'm going to ask you to give your attention to Ipek as she will be now speaking. And again, please hold your questions till the end. We will give you opportunity to ask questions on the Q&A if you're in the Zoom section. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlin. Thank you for giving me the floor. I'm just going to be sharing my slides. So if you can confirm that you can see my screen, that would be helpful.
I can see your screen.
Awesome. Okay, so like Carlin mentioned, today we're going to be discussing how Windmill as an organization and through our loan program could help with any of the efforts that you might have in your labor market integration in Canada. That might be through the licensing in Canada, which we recognize takes time and a lot of savings. Or you might be coming in from a non-regulated field and you might be looking to upskill and move further in the sector that you're in. All of those options are available to you for you to access if you do apply for a Windmill loan. Just a bit of context as to why we're called Windmill. There is a symbolic significance to our logo, which really signifies the idea of converting potential into prosperity. Now, please don't misunderstand me. By no means am I implying that your potential only gets converted here in Canada. As newcomers, you have a lot of experience and a wealth of knowledge, and Windmill is here to support you convert that knowledge and the experience that you do have, and hopefully find suitable employment opportunities here in Canada. So that is a bit of background as to why we chose Windmill as our logo. So I did say we have a loan program, but specifically our loan program goes up to $15,000 for skilled immigrants and refugees to seek to achieve career goals here in Canada. This is a way for you to invest in your future. And like I said, because we recognize that this process takes a lot of time and a lot of financial contributions, this is also a way for you to not deplete your savings. But let's take it back a step and talk about who Windmill is. So Windmill is a registered national charity, and we have services across Canada. For the purposes of this call, I recognize that you're all based in Alberta, but our services are available across Canada. Our funding comes from a variety of sources. So we are government funded. We receive funding from the same generous donor, the IRCC, by the federal government. We also receive funding from the provinces of Ontario, Alberta, and Quebec. The second chunk of our funding comes from a mix of private corporations and individual donors. And this is how we're able to fund the original loans. Since our inception, we were able to give out 6,000 loans that totals to about $45 million since 2005, actually. If I can just please ask everyone to go on mute to avoid any background noises. Thank you very much. On the right, you see Dr. Maria Erickson, who is the founder of Windmill. Back then, we were called the Immigrant Access Fund, and she really recognized that some of the staff at the hospital that she was working at were actually internationally trained immigrants, doctors or other practitioners but they weren't licensed, so they weren't able to practice in the healthcare field, but they ended up working in hospitals. So that's a bit of our origin story and how the idea of Windmill started, and now the program has since shifted in the last 15 years, and we have, like I said, services across Canada. So at this point in the presentation, you might be thinking, what makes Windmill unique? How is it different than a banking institution? Couldn't I just get a loan from a bank? You could, but traditionally, financial institutions will ask you for credit history or your credit score. They will ask for stable employment and stable income. You are often required to show assets to secure the loan, and there is a co-signer on your loan. Whereas with Windmill, we accept applications from newcomers who have no credit history in Canada, because that's one of the major barriers of accessing financial support. People might be in unemployment situations or underemployment, like the situation that Maria Erickson noticed at the hospital that she was working at. People might be living off of savings or credit cards. They might not have assets to secure a loan, or they might not have the social networks available to have co-signers to secure the loan. In any of these cases, this would not hold back a client from applying for a loan with Windmill. So this is more the financial side of what makes Windmill unique. But further differences are how Windmill supports career success for our clients. So differences from a bank is that you would be assigned a career success coach upon your application, and they oversee the success of your plan, essentially. So coming into Windmill, you would have an idea of which career path to take, and which courses to take, if it's applicable, which examinations to take, and they would really kind of oversee your process to say, are all of the checkboxes being met? Are the repayment dates being met also? So you really receive tailored support from our career success coaches. Some of our clients do need financial literacy training, meaning they might need basic information about what it means to borrow, what it means to take out a loan, what happens if unfortunately a repayment term is not being met, So all of these get covered through our financial literacy training, which is available to the clients at no additional cost. We have a mentorship program of other newcomers who've gone through similar processes. They've taken out a loan with Windmill, and now their loan is fully covered, fully paid back. So that program is available to you, and additional online resources as well. So I talked about what limitations are not applicable if you do want to apply for a Windmill loan, but what criteria do we have for eligibility. Our clients are required to live in Canada, which for the purposes of this call, again, I don't see as a flag. Legal status wise, we work with permanent residents, Canadian citizens, provincial nominee, protected persons, or convention refugee status. Those are the legal requirements that we would need. We would need proof of international training. So like I said, two major streams there of regulated and non-regulated. It's easier for people coming in from regulated fields to show formal training, whereas for people who are in career paths of truck driving or hairdressing, that might be harder. So that is when you would have an honest conversation with your coach. You would talk about your experience, and then you would get the recognition that you deserve to qualify for a loan. And to be truthful, I don't expect you to memorize all of these eligibility criteria that we have. We made it really easy for clients or service staff, administrative staff, to check a client's eligibility. So if you have your phone accessible to you, I would ask that, if you're interested, I would ask that you scan the barcode. I would also ask that you don't take the quiz right now. Save it until the end of the presentation so you're able to focus on the presentation. And then hopefully at the end, if you're interested, the link is there on your phone for you to proceed. Sorry. Okay. So if you do qualify for a loan with Windmill, what can you expense under the loan? So the first stream is financial credential recognition. So things like the fees for assessments, training, licensing, exams to get back into the field or related fields, adjacent fields. Usually these are the regulated professionals. With COVID, we've seen an increase in career change, whether you're whether you're a newcomer or not. A lot of folks are looking to move out of the industry that they're currently employed in. This is an opportunity. In that case, we would not ask for proof of existing experience, but rather we would ask for some sort of logic as to where you want to go. You know, is it because you identified a labor shortage in sector X and you think this is going to be high in demand? So this is an opportunity for you to make your case about why you want to change your career path, and get the loan and go through the training through the loan. Professional development and upskilling is another stream, falling under underemployment. So if you're in the sector that you're hoping to, but you think that, you know, taking 3 courses at a college is going to increase your chances of achieving that next role in the organization or the field that you're employed in, this is an opportunity for you to do so. Some of our clients also, they go through their education plan, they complete their program, and an opportunity arises elsewhere. They need funds to relocate themselves or their family. That's also a possibility. So the extended the extended list of eligible expenses are on the screen. So like I said, training and education of up to 2 years, licensing and qualifying exams, language courses. This is strictly in the technical side. So you might be very well diverse in the technical side of things, but maybe language is something that you struggle with and you're hoping to get tutored on the language. That's an opportunity for you. Qualification assessments, travel expenses, books, course materials, and work equipment, professional association fees, and living allowance. So caregiving, elderly care or child giving fall under the living allowance. Okay, so bear with me. I'm going to get a bit technical on the terms and conditions of the loan. So our variable interest rate is set at 1.5 plus RBC prime business rate. So our current annual rate comes up to 3.95%. Our maximum repayment term, depending on the amount that you borrow, is between 4 to 5 years. That being said, the open loan, this is an open loan, meaning you can pay off your debt at any time with no penalty. Like I said, there's no hidden administrative fees or charges because we're a national charity. The amount that you borrowed plus the interest is the only payment that you would make to Windmill. And the idea of the maximum 15 is, in some cases, some people start with $5,000, but going through their program, they realize that they might need 2,000 more. So they can take up to $15,000. Another thing that makes us slightly different than, say, provincial programs is it's not a single offer. So once you pay off your first portion of the debt, you can borrow more. So say you take the 5,000, you pay that off, and then you say, I'm actually going to take further courses in this field and, be ambitious in my role. So again, you can apply. It is not a single use program that we operate. So I did mention the eligibility quiz, but what happens after you take the eligibility quiz? So this slide kind of gives you an overview of what the application process looks like for the clients. So you go online, you take your eligibility quiz, hopefully you're eligible. Then you would be proceeding to the application process, which then you're gonna have to submit documentation. So like I said, proof of legal status, a void check, your current resume, where you want to go. So we call that a career path, which program, what are the living allowance expenses that you would like considered. So all of these considerations are asked upon completion. If you move to the next round, you go through your coaching session, you go through the financial literacy and budgeting sessions to understand what it means to borrow and what it means to take out a loan in Canada. And then hopefully our committee reviews your application and you're approved for a loan. Depending on when we receive the documentation, the process can take up to between 10 to 15 business days. And I say that because I recognize that some of the payment terms for some of the courses for the fall session are coming up. So if you are hoping to apply, keep that in mind. I would humbly suggest that you don't leave it to the last minute if you are interested in applying. And then the last leg of the longer process, I will say, is after approval, you get assigned to our loan management team, which will then sign the loan documents and disperse the first amount. And you will make the agreements on the repayment terms as well. So that is our application in a nutshell. I'm going to ask once again that you mute yourselves, please. Okay. Thank you. Again, here is the application fee, the link, sorry. So if you're interested, please scan the barcode with your phones, and then you can go through the quiz after this presentation. So this is the last slide of the presentation, but it's also my favorite slide of my presentation, which really speaks to the client success. So what happens when someone takes out a loan, they go through their education plan, they get employed, we see an increase of 3.3x in average income, which realistically speaks to two things. One is the underemployment of newcomers upon arrival, and then the more optimistic side, which is, the placement and what really is able to happen when people are able to practice the profession that they were trained in. To address the elephant in the room, our virtual room, I do get a lot of hesitation about, the idea of working with clients who have no credit history and what does the repayment rate for the organization look like. Even through COVID, we're always really proud to say that our repayment rate stayed at 98%, which again speaks to two things. One is the flexibility that our coaches and our loan management team is able to provide in times of hardship. If someone is not able to take their qualification exam because of COVID, because it wasn't available online, that's a consideration in the relationship that we've built. So does that mean rejigging the repayment term? Does that mean readjusting the payment? So what does that look like? So our team really does our best to make sure that the loans don't fall into the 2% category, which is where the loans unfortunately default. And there are some legal matters that go into play. But hopefully, we're talking about the 98% repayment rate. And it's a successful story, like Tripti, who's a nurse and who's a Windmill alumni. She unfortunately had an underemployment situation. She took a factory job because her family needed her to. But then through the loan, she went through the George Brown College, the nursing program, the bridging program that we have available here in Toronto. And then she's now employed in one of the hubs, the healthcare hub that we call here in Toronto. So that is one of the many, many stories of what happens when people look at the Windmill program as an opportunity to build on their existing skills and for us to support their labor market integration. I will say, if you're interested in reading about client success stories, please feel free to check out our website. We have many, many of them on there. So yes, so this is the end of my presentation. I want to thank each and every one of you. I look forward to the questions. I see the chat box is red right now, so going to be looking forward to the questions. And yeah, thank you again.
Well, that was just a very informative presentation. I now feel like I am ready to loan the money to retrain in Canada. All right. Well, at this point in time, I'd like to humbly thank our Facebook Live audience for joining us, and we are going to disable the Facebook Live feature for the Q&A.